welcome again to another podcast of Clare GA sporting heroes and their life and times from their club, their school, their college, their county, wherever they went and travelled to the world. And we have one of our greatest ever hurlers. I suppose he's a very shy man. He won't agree with that, but he gave fantastic service to the county for many, many years, and also moved on from Whitegate to Parteen. He's revered in Parteen, and currently he's joint president of Clare GA with Mikey Lee from Tower. So, Naoise Jordan, how are you feeling today?
Not too bad at all, no. Delighted to be here to talk to you.
You're keeping the sunny side out. The sunlight, I can see the sunlight in the background.
Yeah, well, it is beautiful today, thank God. Long may it last. And it's a bad time, a difficult time with this lockdown and the whole lot.
Yeah. Congratulations with yourself and Mikey Lee, two great men who've given their life service to GA, and your joint GA presence. Hopefully we'll get to see you at a match before the year's out.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm delighted, and it's a great privilege and a great honour to be selected as with Michael Lee as joint president of Clare GA. It's a great honour, and I'm delighted. And thank you.
I suppose we'll start at the beginning. You're a Whitegate man, born and bred.
Yes.
Tell me, you came from a large family.
There was 12 in our family, 6 boys and 6 girls.
And if I may ask, how many of them are still kicking above the ground?
There's only 2 of us left. My sister is in the nursing home up in Parteen, and she's 102. And she was the eldest, and I was the youngest, so we're the only 2 left.
So there's a lot left in you yet if you're going to make 102, Naoise.
I don't think, the only thing I see 102 will be over a door or something.
Very good. And tell me, like, one of your brothers, did one of your brothers play with Galway?
He did, Paddy.
And a great career with Galway.
Well, he had a great career with Galway. And the funny thing about that, Mike, was he played on the Railway Cup, the Connacht Railway Cup team in 46 and 47. Now, he was in 47, he was marking a man from Mount Shannon, Whitegate as well, Pack Lions, who was playing for Munster, both from the same club. And now, Pack Lions won a Railway Cup medal in 46, and Paddy, my brother, won a Railway Cup medal in 47. But the funny thing about it, they were marking each other in 47, which is unusual. And they came back in, and Whitegate had no team at the time. They weren't participating. So they organised themselves and entered the team in 48. And the 2 of them were playing together then. And they won a senior championship together in 1950.
And who did they beat in 1950? Can you remember? Who did Whitegate beat in the county final that year?
Rowan.
I'm sure Jimmy Smith.
In his prime at the time.
Yes. And where did you get the love of hurling? I know Whitegate is steeped in hurling, but who were your friends when you were growing up?
Well, Michael Dial, Frank Cleary, Tommy Holland, Ned Cahill, all those young fellas. But there was nothing else to do, Mike, in around Whitegate at the time. You know, there was very little to do. And the hurling field was in there. Well, the field that we were using was in the village, you know, and it was only a rented field. But we'd be in the hurling field practically every evening. And of a Sunday, after lunch, after dinner, we'd be there until it was time for the farmer's sons to go home to milk.
Okay. You have a photograph there you want to show me of yourself and Michael Dial. Explain the significance of the photograph.
Well, Michael Dial isn't in it. Will I hold it up or?
Yeah, hold it up there, we can see it. And what is that you're showing us?
I'm showing you there. Michael Dial and myself, he was my next door neighbour and friend, and he lived about 50 yards over the road from where I lived, right? Now, we did a lot of our hurling on the road and the street at the time because traffic was scarce enough. There wasn't that many cars. But we got there was a P&T pole already there. We got a radio in our house, and in order to the Western Drive battery time, we had to put up an aerial to get the reception. So we got permission from Tom Hayes to put up the pole in his bit of ground near the P&T pole. So Michael Dial and myself, he'd be standing over in front of his house, I'd be in front of my house, and that's where we'd spend our time, hitting the ball to each other and trying to score between the two poles. Target practice.
So you're ahead of your time in terms of getting ready for training sessions. You basically made the best out of everything you had in your locality just to get
exactly.
just to pitch a ball.
Exactly, that was it. And the one to go away from that, the one thing that often used to annoy me growing up, you'd hear people talking about journalists and reporters and things, that if you can't play hurling in Thurles and Croke Park, you can't play it anywhere. Now, my idea about that was the surface in Thurles, the surface in Croke Park is excellent, and it's all the pitches all over the country now have improved big time. But the one thing that I feel about those that people, I don't know whether they realize it or not, the one thing all those fields have in common is that the goalposts are the same width no matter what field you're in.
Yes.
And if you're not able to put the ball between the posts in Crusheen, Whitegate, Parteen, Tulla, you won't do it in Thurles or Croke Park.
That's a fair point. You can take down the photograph now, Naoise, but that's a great story. So who were the people that gave you, or who were the people that were over your teams when you were growing up? I know you mightn't have had much, but who were the people you looked up to?
Tack Hearn was the principal teacher in our school, and there was a plot of ground across the road from the school, and at lunchtime we used to go out there and play hurling. Now we mightn't always have had hurlers. We'd have had what they call crooks and different bits of things, have hurlers and that. But the thing about it as well, he was very influential in my career, as well as the likes of Ned Isle, Percy Soul, and my brother Paddy. But if he'd be going to Munster Championship matches, which a lot of us wouldn't be able to get to at that time. And if he saw something spectacular, the likes of Ring or some of them great hurlers perform an act, he would come in to school on the following Monday, and he'd bring a hurley in it, and he'd demonstrate what he had seen. And he'd come out at lunchtime as well and kind of explain it even better. But like he was, like you're saying before your time, he was a coach, if you like, in the sense at that stage.
Yes. And did you win a senior championship with Whitegate?
I want to, but go back to that school episode. Now, he organised, or at least we kind of organised a competition that was, between the village and Kilcooney, right? And every Easter Sunday, we'd play a match between the village would play the Kilcooney crowd. Now, you had the Clearys, the Hollands, the Kellys, and that were playing with Kilcooney, and you had the Dials, the Jordans, the Fahies, and that, and all them playing with the village, or the Whitegate, should I say. But he would referee those matches. Now, that group of boys, between the two teams, kind of grew up together. And from 1957, 56, 57, up to 66, 67, that group of players stayed together. Now, we won a lot of competitions. We won the Cup twice. We won the Intermediate Championship. Actually, we won the Intermediate Championship in 1959. We beat Clooney in the final. And that time, you could play 9 of the senior team on the intermediate team and still go back and play senior later on. But we had a great run those years with that group of fellas. We won the cup twice. We won the intermediate. We won the McCagney, the gold watches, and that. And we won the championship in '61. We were beaten in the county final in '57. We were beaten again in '63 and again in '66.
So, so just with all the fantastic talent you have, you were still grateful to win that one championship, even though you were in 3 or 4 more finals.
Yes, exactly. Oh, we were delighted.
Yeah. And
many people would love to just win one championship.
Absolutely, absolutely, Nishi. And in your time playing with Whitegate, who were the teams that you relished playing the most?
Well, Fecal, Scariff, and Killaloo, I suppose, the bridge. But you see, the thing about it as well, we had to play all our matches in Tulla. There was no field capable for having those matches between Whitegate and Innis, except Tulla and Kilkishen maybe. But mostly all our games were played in Tulla. And like the thing about it was, we used to do very well in the East Clare area, but then when we maybe got to a final against the likes of Newmarket, Six or Aero and that, we got kind of lost when we get to Cusick Park.
Yeah, and I suppose before we finish with your Whitegate part, what opponents did you enjoy going up against? Personal opponents, people that you marked and you enjoyed marking, and vice versa.
Fecal and Scariff would be our nearest rivals, and there'd be always a certain amount of banter between those two clubs, But we used to enjoy, like, the thing about it as well, on the field, there was no friends. But as soon as the game was over, everyone was friendly again, because you'd be meeting at dances and at other matches and things and everything like that.
I suppose when you were playing in Tulla and you were playing Scariff, you had to drive through Scariff, you had to go through Scariff first to get to Tulla.
That's right. Yes.
And I suppose why did your brother Paddy play with Galway? Was he?
Well, I think there was no work around Whitegate at the time, and he was working with a sawmill crowd down in Ballasloe. And there was no transport. I mean, how was he going to get from there up to Whitegate and get to Tulla or wherever and back home again? So he played with Ballasloe now with Inky Flaherty and Shawnee Duggan and Dimphilus, all great GA men.
It must have been proud for your family that Paddy was able to get on the Galway team.
Oh yeah, that was a great achievement,
Yeah.
A great achievement.
And I suppose give us a rough summation of your career with Clare when you were playing with the county.
Yeah, I got great enjoyment out of it. Great entertainment, and I met great people. I always say about the GAA, you can buy trophies, but you can't buy memories, and you can't buy friends. And I think when you think back over it, and after all those years, no matter where you go, you'll meet those friends, and you'll have those memories. And I think, okay, it's nice to have medals, but I think they're worth more, friends and memories.
And who were your friends that you were close to and when you were playing with Clare? Anyone that sticks out?
Noel Casey, Eamon Russell, Tony Marsh, Sean Cleary, Jackie Gorman, they'd be all. We wouldn't. You see, the Newmarket crowd had all their own friends, if you like.
Yes.
Okay, so, but like they were still friendly, but they'd be the ones that you'd be traveling with.
And
to the matches.
Who were the guys that were over the Clare teams when you were playing? Anyone that you remember or think of?
Well, John Handy was there, and Colin Flynn was very influential in John Hanley, their coach, and Colin Flynn was the physio and the trainer.
Yes. And did you find the training with Clare, was it different or more difficult than training with Whitegate? Was it a different style?
Not so much different. The procedure we went through that, and when I compare and see what the training regime is now, we'd go up to Flannan's College. We'd poke around for a while. Then we'd do a few laps of the field. Then maybe a bit of leapfrog and that, and then we'd have backs and forwards.
And
That was the gist of the training.
And how often would you do that now, coming up to championship?
Well, you'd have it twice a week, and maybe on a Saturday, 3 times a week about.
And was there any match in your time with Clare that sticks out to you that the game went well for you, or that it was a great win for the county?
I don't know. I'm sure any match you win is a great match.
Yeah.
Like the ones you lose, you don't ever forget those. Like, going back to the Wembley trip.
Yes.
We went to Wembley in '58, right? No, that was the first hurling game that was played in Wembley. And for that match, Wexford had to play Kilkenny, and Clare were drawn against Waterford. Now, Cork were drawn out before that to play Waterford, but they withdrew. So what they did was, I don't know how Clare came into the equation, but we were picked anyway to play Waterford. So we went down to Walsh Park to play Waterford. And I suppose, you see, Waterford and Kilkenny were after playing the All-Ireland the previous year. But I suppose they might have thought that to be a handy enough match for them. So they allowed their best forward, Tom Cheesley, to go away and play a football match with his club. Now, at half time, we were leading by 9 points. We were really going well. And some official from the Waterford County Board went to wherever the football match was on, stopped the football match, brought Cheesley back to the hurling match. He came on for the second half, and by God, did he make a difference. With 3 minutes to go, they had drawn level with us after being 9 points up, and we got a free about 30 yards out with 3 minutes to go, and Pat Kirby pointed it. The other funny thing about that particular match as well was, we were going in when we went in at half time, 9 points up. Johnny Purcell and Paddy Russell passed the remark, lads, he says, keep it up, we're in Holyhead already.
Very good. And what was it like
like I tell you something, it was a very close call with 3 minutes to go.
Absolutely. And just, if you want to chat about, what was it like to play in Wembley?
I thought it was fantastic, But then again, no different to any other surface, because, the surface was good, but I was a bit young at the time, and you wouldn't realise how important it was to be playing in those places.
Absolutely. I suppose, if we can move forward a bit, what brought you from Whitegate to Parteen? Was it through love?
Well, I was working in Parteen at the time, and the council developed a building site here in Parteen, and Patsy, my wife, is from Clare. So I applied for one of the sites, to develop the sites, and you build your own house.
Okay.
So that's what happened. I built the house there then and settled here.
And how many years have you lived in Parteen?
I'm there now since 1957 or 1970.
So you're 51 years living in Parteen now.
51 years, yes.
And like
I'm living longer in Parteen than I lived in Whitegate. I left Whitegate at 16 years of age.
Oh yes, right. And I mean, you're synonymous. Obviously, your history is Whitegate, but you're synonymous with Parteen. Anytime I've ever seen a Parteen team, you've been with them. Did you play much with Parteen?
Well, I did. I played on Jesus. I did. When we started, I came to Parteen in 1977. We won the Junior B Championship and League that year.
Yes.
And in 79, we were beaten in the Junior A final by Wolf Tones.
Right.
I know. So I played it for, well, maybe longer than I should.
And you're fully engrossed now in the Parteen parish. What would you find? Do you find any difference between when you're obviously you've lived most of your life, we should say, in Parteen parish.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Whitegate and Parteen? Is there anything?
In Whitegate, everybody knew everybody. I'm not saying that doesn't apply to Parteen, but the Parteen team that I played with, you had a lot of people that had come to live in the parish,
Yes.
And from Limerick, from Tipperary, and from other parts, and you'd be still very friendly with all of those, but you wouldn't have the same comradeship as you'd have with Whitegate when I was there, growing up.
And I suppose now you're probably seen now. Would you be actively involved with Parteen? Is there now still, or are you taking a back seat?
Not, I'd take a back seat. The only thing that I keep emphasising is to try and get them to use the wall ball a lot more.
Right.
I'm a strong believer in that, because I think if you could get fellas to, if there's only spend 5 minutes at each training session, spend 5 minutes on the wall before they go out onto the field to train. Because what I find all along was, when fellas go to the training field, tug out, run out onto the field, all they want to do is belt the ball as far away as they can, back again, and everything like that. But if they spent 5 minutes on the wall before they went out, they could build away whatever way they liked in.
Did you find when you were training that you were naturally fit? And did you get many injuries in your career?
I got only one really bad injury that I thought. I had a wrist injury. I had to have a bone removed from my wrist.
Okay.
That left me with half the power and half the movement. But that was the only real injury that I got.
And I suppose playing when you were growing, as you say, you're growing up in Whitegate, the natural fitness you had of playing in the pit, playing in the roads, and with all those families gathered together, you didn't need training. It came to you naturally because you're moving.
Yeah, but you see, Mike, I went to the vocational school in Scariff. You see, now that was 9 miles from Whitegate, so I cycled there morning and evening, 5 days a week. So there was no chance of getting hamstrings or anything like that.
Yes, as a man said in Crusheen, once hamstrings, you only find them on pigs. But so you were cycling 100 miles a week going to school.
Correct.
Yes, and you say you're settled in Whitegate. Can you tell us a bit about your family and where they are now or what they're doing?
Well,
your own family.
Oh yeah, but they're here living in Parteen with me. Raymond, he's in the UK. Tony and Ruth are here within a mile of me.
Yes.
So that's basically where we are.
Yeah. Now, I suppose if you were to go to a Whitegate, I'm just trying to get your thinking in this. You go to a Whitegate match now.
Yes.
And obviously, you now know all the Parteen people because you've been there so long. You nearly know 3 generations of them. You go to a Whitegate match now. How do you know many that are playing? Or say, obviously, their next generations could be 2 generations after you grow. Would you still have a handle on the names?
I kind of, but to be their grandparents, I know rather than the players themselves. But I know if they were Burks or Dials or Hayes or whatever, I'd have known their grandparents.
Yeah, and I suppose you obviously built up a friendship with Brendan Bugler during his career with Clare. I suppose you were two men that played for the county with distinction. So I presume you've had many chats with Brendan over the years.
Oh, we just stop. We used to have some great sessions on the hurling wall.
Yes.
You know. Oh yeah. The funny thing about that, Brendan had come down to Parteen, you see, to do on the hurling wall. And I set him a target of 50 hit and catch in the minute, you know. So Brendan would come down anyway, and okay, water up, and then he'd have a go. And when the minute should be up, he'd say, "Well, how did I do? Sorry, Brendan, only 48."
Were you telling him the truth?
No.
Did he ever figure out you were telling him a fib?
The next time he'd come again, and he'd try as hard as he could, and eventually, no, Brendan, 49. And he still tried to make the 50, but we were at a function there. Then we made a presentation as after the All-Stars, and I said, "Brendan, I have a confession to make." I says, I didn't always tell you the truth. You were doing 52 and 53, but I knew if I told you that you wouldn't put in the same effort the next time.
Did you see from a young age that there was potential in him?
Yeah, I could see he had the skill, he had the hands, and he had the ability.
Yes.
No.
Did you see anything of you in him going back the years? Was there any comparison you'd make between Brendan and we said even the likes of Tommy Holland and lads like that that played for Clare for a while?
Oh yeah, no, not really. I mean, they were both wing backs, and the both had the same skills, and they both performed well all the time. You know, all the time.
Was there any game that you, to this day, you look back and say, well, that game passed us by, we could have won that final, or would you have any sort of small regrets about a championship you should have won that you didn't?
No, not really, because I think when you think back to 57, we were inexperienced at the time, I felt. Now we were a bit more level-headed in 61 when we won it. No, we were lucky. We beat, as it was, a great Newmarket team, or the start of a great Newmarket team. You had the likes of Putin, Cronin, Danaher, Paddy Mac, all great hurlers, and they went on to prove themselves great hurlers afterwards. You know, if we take it, they beat us in 63, and Ogden beat us in 66. But maybe we were going off a bit then at that stage.
Yeah, I suppose. And was the hunger for success always in the Whitegate club? Like they always wanted to perform at their highest level?
Oh yeah, but we always felt at the start that we were, you know, good or equal to most teams.
Yes.
You know, and we mightn't have had the population or the the subs bench, but at least we had what we thought was good enough to participate. We never went up, as far as told, expecting to get beaten. We went up to win.
Absolutely. I suppose, you know, in the 40 years plus you've been watching Parteen, how do you see Parteen GA club developing? I was down there last year at a minor match, and I met you there. I got your photograph taken with Owen O'Donnell. But I couldn't believe the great work that's been put in the facilities and grounds since the last time I was there.
Yeah, it is great. They have great work done in fairness. There's a great organisation and a great committee in the and there's a great underage committee involved. They're putting an awful lot of time and effort into underage hurling and camogie, you know, and they have a magnificent pitch, and they have no clubhouse built and dressing rooms now. They haven't had the official opening as yet because of lockdown, but they have made great progress, in fairness to them.
And what's the last team that you were involved with in Parteen as on the sideline? What was the last team you were in charge of as a selector? Can you remember?
I think I was involved with a minor team. We won a minor championship. I think it was 64 or 50. You know, I was involved with Owen Conway and Noel Martin, and we won the minor championship.
Yes, yes. And look at, I suppose, finally to wrap up, what would you like to see Clare in the coming years? Like you've been on this earth a long time now. What's your impression of Clare hurling now at the moment? Have you any comments on it, or what do you think?
I don't know. I'm a bit disappointed in the carry on between the players and management and things like that. You know, they're washing their linen in public, which I don't agree with.
Okay.
But I think the potential is there, and I think, you know, things have improved in the last couple of matches that they have played.
Yes.
You know, but I think the potential is there if they can just get the mix right. I mean, they have some fantastic hurlers, individual hurlers, but to try and get them to gel together is a problem, maybe. You know, and hopefully that in the coming year that things will get better.
That's perfect.
And that we'll be able to go to Crow Park again.
That's exactly it. We'll try and get to Cusack Park first, and then we'll take Crow Park after that.
Oh, that's the main thing. Get to Cusack Park and get that sorted out.
That's it. Know. Listen, again, Naoise, thanks very much for spending half an hour plus talking to me. You have a lot of stories done. You have a lot more work to do in the GA. So listen, hopefully we'll meet again somewhere in Cusack Park or in Parteen or in Tulla in the years to come. So again, thanks, Naoise, for chatting to me, and we'll meet again.
Okay, Michael, thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you.